all the credit in the world to Michigan. They're an incredibly talented and well-coached team who executed very well and played outstanding today. Some of the good, I thought we operated well from some of the things that we needed to address from the Pitt game. We played every player that traveled, which was fantastic, and gained some very, very valuable experience as we are in a fledgling install of the program. Some negatives and things to work on for sure is we learned the hard way, if you are not consistent against a very consistent and talented team, they will make you pay for it right away, so we have to do that. I really thought that Michigan were the aggressors the entire game in all three phases, as far as fast off the ball, fast closing spaces and confident. So I really would like us to. I feel like I could have done a better job there. And then, like I said, I thought we operated really clean until the second half turnovers. We had one from each quarterback, which we cannot do ever. So whether you're up, down, good, bad, or ugly. So again, all the credit in the world to Michigan. They got a great team and a great operation, and we're going to get better. So any questions?
Jaden didn't play today. I know he was kind of banged up earlier in the week. What was the timeline on when you knew he wouldn't play, and then how did that affect your plan and kind of what you could do today?
Right at the very, very end of the week. So when we actually got to the team hotel on Friday, he actually visited doctors down here in Ann Arbor. So we found out definitively on Friday that his knee was banged up, and it sounds like that, certainly from a recovery and treatment standpoint, like rest is going to be the best thing for it right now, and then figure out what to do from there. So obviously whatever Jaden decides to do and his family, we're going to support him like crazy. But yeah, we found out pretty late Friday that he was going to be officially out.
And then how did that kind of affect what you could do in this game, or like how much can you change?
It changes a lot. I mean, it changes a lot because now you don't have as many, you're not going to run Joe in the quarterback running situations. But again, we would have been fine. We just got behind the sticks on a couple of our first possessions, and you have very, very little, if any, margin for error against these guys. So unfortunately, we just didn't get enough snaps on the field for both those guys to get rolling. But yeah, it changes it for sure as far as where you're going to distribute touches and carries. And it just took us, Michigan did such a good job of not only churning the sticks and using up the clock and moving the pocket and keeping us off balance between run and pass. I thought they, from a play calling standpoint, they did a phenomenal job. So our style of play, especially in a game like that, we want to play it from a little bit closer, for sure.
You had high praise for their quarterback from what you'd seen on tape, now seeing him in person. What were your impressions, if you don't mind?
Confirmed. Good operator. That's the cool thing about him watching him play in person is he's not just a talented thrower. He's a very, very good quarterback. As far as how he operates the whole system, he has just little details that you notice even in person that you don't really notice as well on tape, like all of his little ball handling mechanics and how well he flashes it and holds the fakes. And when he comes out of the pocket, he moves for a ton of width so he can get downhill fast. He's just a very polished. He's you can tell he's as smart as he is talented, and he's incredibly talented. So he did a great job.
They hadn't run him at all until this week. I mean,
no, and he really, he pulled the one zone read, I think, on or what would that have been in the game? 3 series before halftime, he pulled the one zone read and scored, but some of the other ones were on extended plays or broken plays where he just made some plays with his feet and did a tremendous job, which is, out of everything to defend in football, that is probably the hardest. So.
You guys are coming off of 3 straight and tough home or away games. What has kind of been the message to your team throughout this time and today?
Persevere. I talk to the kids. One of the things I really like about our team is that they're over moral victories. When I first got hired here, it was a lot of, hey, catch them doing things right, and hey, good job, pat them on the head. And they're kind of over that phase at this point. I'm a big try to take glass half full, try to take positives away from something. When I was talking about in there, there's not a whole lot of, they're ready to start making some results. So it's been very good for us to see when you play against, obviously our goal is to become a very, very good program. And for us the last 2 weeks to see really good programs in the flesh that are well coached, talented, good culture, good tradition. It shows it's a smelling salts for our guys. Like, dude, they're giving you a blueprint for what we need to fix to be able to compete at that level. So to me, that's a cool part of college football right now if you understand how to use it, where these games are great to compete in, but the reality is, like, these first 3 games don't count towards our conference, and it's a chance for us as a staff to figure out who we are, to get all on the same page, catch all of our problems and issues too. So there are a lot of positive to take away from it. I know from a fan base standpoint, like, obviously we had a better showing, more competitive, and score more points and stop them and all that stuff, but there are a lot of positives to take away.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Michigan's 4th down stop in the second quarter. You guys only needed a yard, but you ran it from the ran the play from the shotgun position. Something we also saw in Pitt last week. What goes into the decision to run a play like that from shotgun
Versus under center,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know, hindsight, I guess. If you get it, everybody says you're smart, and if you don't, you're dumb, and all that stuff. But the going for it, we never decide, like, I shouldn't say never, very rarely in the heat of the moment. So we use analytics that give us a book that tell us kind of the situation each time. So whether in that scenario in the game, you know, whether it's in the gun or not doesn't really matter, because they were playing like where they covered the interior 3 guys, so like a TNT front, so like a double reduction deal. So if you go under center and you just try to have 3 guys block their 3 guys, that's not going to go very well for us. So there's pockets in the front that they were playing out in the C gap and a soft D gap, so we want to get the ball caught in the gun, try to advance the ball past their 3 interior tackles, go to lighter people where there's a pocket in the defense, all that stuff. So, but the decision to go for it, those are decided. We know that probably 2 days out. Like, so we will know. We'll play the next game. We'll get our go for it sheet on Monday morning, so we'll already know that for the next week.
You're an offensive line coach, and you just kind of see it come through just then. How do you feel like your offensive line? You've played 2 in the last 2 weeks, really probably of the higher end defensive fronts that are in the country, let alone on your schedule. How do you feel like the group has both handled it and, you know, bumps and bruises, and like really proved through these weeks?
You know, the one thing we have got to fix is the negative yardage plays. Like you and especially against opponents like these last 2, you just have such a small margin for error. So you really, really want to eliminate any negative yardage plays. So against Pitt, we had, you know, some of it was them. They did some really, really complicated and aggressive things defensively, but a lot of it was ours. So for us, that was a big point of emphasis this week. So when we came back this week in the game that we just played, I think you didn't see run game missed assignments, guys getting covered up. Like, they're hard to keep blocked for a long time. And part of the reason they recruited them there. So that piece of it, I guess, you saw us play a lot cleaner. Now some of the, you know, the sacks, some of that is they're in a good call. Some of it's the quarterback's got to get the ball out of his hands. Some of those things can be either whether it's offensive line or backs and protection, whatever. But I was much happier with like, I know it sounds bad because the numbers were rough, but the run game operation, when you take away some of the sacks, that obviously impact the rushing numbers. But when we remove the negative yardage plays from the system, from our execution, we'll be in much better shape, I think.
We had talked a little earlier in the week about getting the team prepped for this environment. Now that the game's through, how do you think your prep held up, and how do you think playing in this environment will help you down the line and back to it?
Yeah, so the environment, I think we did a great job this week as far as, you know, it was the first thing everybody said when we got out there was like, oh man, the practice atmosphere was much more difficult than the actual game was itself from an atmosphere standpoint. Now, that was probably where the similarities stopped from the preparation standpoint. So, to me, you immediately see the good parts of it that we had. I think we only had 1 penalty on the whole game. So procedurally, we were much cleaner, and defensively, we made it outside of the one series. We at least made them earn it. You know what I mean? They hit the corner route. I think earlier, what was it, the second series of the game? We had a miscommunication. We had them onto a 3rd and 10, and then they hit us on a long pass 2 plays later. But man, other than that, we forced them to execute long series and play well. So there were some elements of that were defensively that we did, like you talked about, like the preparation procedurally on offense, and then forcing them to execute, no cheap ones and freebies. There are big improvements from the previous week for sure. It's just hard, you know. I mean, it's hard to, until you watch the tape and you talk about those internally. It's hard to communicate that those things are getting fixed or improved when the score ends up like that.
We have anything else?
As far as some of the negative plays, I mean, they had a lot of sacks, especially early. Yeah, was it just guys, you know, sometimes just getting beat one-on-one, or, well, yeah, their speed on the edges?
I'll have to watch more of it, but I mean, part of it is just you know, for a team like us in a game like this, you have to be a little bit more aggressive to have a shot. You have to try to take some shots that you probably normally wouldn't do in other situations and go for it on 4th down when in your own end, because you know, mathematically, otherwise you're just going to punt it 40 yards and they're going to run 3 more plays. There were 9.6 yards per play or something like that until when the ones came out. So if we do punt it, they just run 3 more plays mathematically. So it's not really that big of a difference if you think of it.
Any other questions? Okay.